And we're going to go live. And we are live today on the Pirate Broadcast, and all the gratitude in the world for you being here, where we bring interesting people doing interesting things. And we love the opportunity to share this information and develop a conversation around, life, marketing, LinkedIn, tips, and all of the things that we can do to help you grow your business. And today is an amazing day. We have VickiO'Neill, and she's going to bring some nuggets of knowledge that you'll want to stick around and listen to. Now, if you don't happen to catch us live on LinkedIn, it's 7 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday, for the live broadcast of the Pirate Broadcast. We're also found on Facebook, YouTube, and I also publish on russjohns.com/Pirate Broadcast for the podcast, the episode, the transcription, and all the information around with that. So, Vicki, welcome to the show. How are you this fine day?
Thank you so much. I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you for asking. How are you doing, Russ?
I'm doing better than average because, I thought I'm going to get out of bed and I'm going to make it an exceptional day. So it's like one of those things that you have to, it's like you have to live a little bit and enjoy life. And so
exactly.
Part of that is enjoying the community around us and the application of these tools and technologies that we're using. And before we jumped on live, we were talking about, Snapchat filters and, all of the social medias, and we have some things that are amazing. And how did you arrive at where you are today doing what you're doing? I'd love to hear that story and how you developed to today.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question because I've been in marketing and sales forever. We're going to talk over 20 years. So, so I started out actually it was a temporary marketing role. It was an admin role. And I just loved the marketing department that I was in so much. I loved everything that they did. It was complete. It was a marketing team of like 40 people. And our sole purpose was to support the sales team. So we interacted very closely with sales throughout the year, through all their campaigns. And, so I loved it so much, and then just went to different companies in either a marketing or a sales role because I felt it was important to have marketing and sales experience if I was going to be effective combining the two and help other companies connect the dots between their marketing and sales efforts. So I started my company, which is Ken K Marketing, in 2011 with intention just to work on some side projects. And throughout the years, that's all I did. And then March of last year, so March of 2018, I was working at a local company as an inside sales manager for the east part of the country. And they went through an acquisition and our team was newer. So of course I was the last one in, so first one out.
Yeah.
So my job was dissolved, and
you're a corporate orphan.
Yes,
like I am.
Yes, and actually, it was it was a gift because it was something that I'd always wanted to be 100% focused on my company anyway, and I didn't really fit in the corporate world. I always felt like, okay, I've learned my job, and now I need to go and like apply all these other things. And hey, here's something we could do. Or let's do this better, or let's do this. So my mind was always going on how we could do things better. And in the corporate world, which you may also know, is that things are set a certain way and it's hard to change.
You can't step outside of the box, Vicki. You have to stay inside the box. We do things a certain way, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And it becomes difficult. So I was like, you know what? This is my opportunity. I'm going to spend 100% of my time and I'm going to focus on my business. And that's what I've been doing since March of last year.
Yeah, that's so amazing. That's so fun. I kid people because I said I spent 25 years in organizations that no longer exist. And I literally had with the CEO at one point in time, it was the CIO, and he drew a square on a piece of paper and he said, "This is the box." And then he drew a dot on the outside of the box. He says, "This is you."
And you're like, I'm going to take that as a compliment.
I take it as a compliment.
I would too.
I'm a free thinker, it's like, okay.
Exactly.
So,
I like things. Thanks for noticing.
So amazing. So
That's awesome.
now, what is your primary focus? What are you excited about? What gets you excited in the morning, getting out of bed and doing some work and activity?
I am passionate about helping other companies connect the dots between marketing and sales. So a lot of times it's the smaller companies and sometimes mid-sized companies that, especially small companies, are so ingrained in their day-to-day and running their business that they
Yeah.
don't have time to focus on marketing, or they don't have time to focus on sales because they're wearing multiple hats. So I go in and I help them with one or the other or both,
Yeah.
and help them from an outside perspective, like build their business.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's
they can
kind of like
actually
a
be a part
patient.
of the business.
It's kind of like a doctor and a patient in a hospital. The patient is surrounded by specialists
Mhm.
because we all need help. And when you're first starting out in business, it's difficult to build a team because you really have a lot of different things going on. You have a lot of activities that you have to wear hats and
Mhm.
make decisions yourself. And as you grow and you develop and you get more active in the community of being an entrepreneur, you have to start growing a team so you can delegate things. And it's so different for a business owner looking for marketing assistance, or even social media is becoming its own valuable asset, and the
Mhm.
real estate on social media is going to be key. And then
Yeah.
also just like an accountant or an attorney, or an administrator, all of these things have to be done. And
Mhm.
at some point in time, the business owner, if they want to grow and scale, they need help and support. So
Yeah, and a lot of times it's just looking at like going into the company and evaluating their internal processes too, because like you said, you've got these different departments, and if they're not communicating internally, then the message externally to the customer, which is
mm,
important, isn't going to be consistent. So connecting the dots between not just marketing and sales, but also including customer service and just all of
yeah.
the customer touch points, and making sure that that's a seamless process from a brand perspective.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical to understand what the messaging is, because a lot of business owners, they start from they just start from an idea, or they're solving with their own problem, and they're growing and evolving, and
Mhm.
they don't see it because they don't see the outside perspective. So someone like yourself can really come in and help them understand the bigger picture and the longer term goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I just help them focus too on, because they're focused on their business. And
Yeah.
ultimately it's the customer that you need to have the focus on.
Yeah,
So
it's the customer journey that's important, right?
it really is. So that's why I focus so much on companies knowing who their ideal customer is, their persona, and developing those, because if you don't know who it is, you can't be where they are. And then you can't be connecting with them, and you can't be helping them with that journey. So it's a great starting point for any company.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of starting point, I want to give a highlight and a shout out to some of the people that are joining us, Vicki. It's Angie's here today. Sheldine, John Esperian is in the room. We got John on Friday. It's like awesome
Yeah.
week. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Debbie, Sherry Lawley, how are you this morning? Love you. And Kuldeep, and then we have DMO. Seth is here. Seth
Mhm.
Barlow. Hate the box. Don't put me in a box. Don't put me in a box,
Don't put me in a
Seth.
box. Just like don't put baby in a corner, don't put me in a box.
Don't put baby in a, yeah, don't put baby in the corner. And I'm fascinated by these things, because one of the journeys that we have, and I always think in terms of stories and journeys, and being able to really articulate this concept of where a customer has to go in order to really utilize your services or your products, and and how they can imagine themselves being in the place where they want to work with you. And it's a nuanced thing that really takes a little time and talent, and it's not necessarily as simple as you would think it should be.
Mhm.
And so, do you have like a process that you go through, or like Vicki's 7 steps of excellence in your messaging, or what's your thought process going through this after years in marketing and media?
Yeah, I've got a 10-step process that I walk brands through. And it all
Mhm.
starts with the most basic form of communication. a lot of times that's the breakdown. And that's the very first step, is that there has to be communication between teams, throughout teams. And if that's not happening, it's extremely difficult to reach out and have an effective conversation with any customer, because it could be two different messages. And from a customer standpoint, if you're getting two different messages from two different people, customer service, sales, marketing messages that they initially clicked on to start, having that journey with your company,
Right.
Those are all disconnected. It's going to create a problem for you as a business, because you're creating doubt in the prospect's mind or in the customer's mind of what they can expect by doing business with you.
Yeah.
So,
if everybody's not singing from the same sheet of music, everybody's telling a different story to the client when they talk to them. Like engineering, maybe having a different story than accounting. It's like if you have a conversation with somebody in the company, what story do they tell about the company, and what's universal about that?
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely key. That's a great point.
Yeah.
So what other steps do you take them through?
There has to be a combined strategy, or at least common goals that both marketing, sales, customer service, everybody's working towards the same thing. So that if they have separate strategies, because sometimes marketing wants to keep theirs, sales wants to keep theirs, that's okay. But just make sure that the goals, the business goals, are being met by the different strategies and tactics of each team, so that everybody's working towards the same common goal. So it's making sure that there's alignment in their strategies as well. Personas, actually mapping out the customer journey, looking at customer service and seeing, what their process is, looking at internal processes. So it's really doing like a full 360 overview of a company and understanding where the gaps are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's really interesting too, and you've probably had this experience, is with marketing and sales and also operations. There's like, okay, I can't sell this because you can't deliver this, and I can't market this because it's not a product yet, or it's that edge of the boundary, where you're pushing the growth in the company and organization, and that sometimes it's a little challenging because as we grow and stretch and build as an organization, it's like, okay, do we take it on or do we not take it on because it's something beyond our boundaries? Marketing can help, I think, maneuver through that challenge, because you can actually project and say, hey, this is coming, this is on the way, and then you can prepare the organization to organize and get ready to deliver that information. And I think that's something that you can do, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think to your point of marketing kind of being that person that owns, looking at, where the changes are, or where, there's that step on that boundary. That's just a great example of how important it is for marketing. They need to be doing the research and seeing what's going on in the marketplace, who's doing what's, keeping their finger on the pulse with, the latest and greatest technologies, or it's that communication with sales, who's actually having the conversations with prospects and customers and closing those deals. And then you've got customer service that's taking calls that could be complaints. It could be, help me set this up. It could be any number of things. So you've got these three different buckets of a lot of great information. So if you think about the different content or the different messages or just different information each one of those groups is privy to, if those three aren't talking, it just creates a mass gap throughout the entire organization. So, each team can have somebody that owns collecting that information, but they really need to be talking in order for there to be this seamless process for the customer.
Any disconnect in the organization causes disconnect with the customer.
It does.
I mean,
We all know that our customers aren't looking at marketing ads. They're not looking at, customer or brands that are actually talking about themselves constantly or saying, hey, you buy this. They don't care. They've got the world at their fingertips with their phone. They're educated. They're going to make their own decisions.
Yeah. And if they have a poor experience and they don't have everything, the relationship isn't solid and they have a poor experience, they're off to the next, the next adventure.
Yeah.
So
that process easier for them to make a choice if you're not creating a good situation for them from the beginning.
And that's why I always think about having a journey for the customer is, what's the experience like? What's the complete experience? Like, there's still some people that have, the 19, Y2K website that is just a brochure essentially on the page.
Yeah.
And they say, well, our website never really did anything for us. And it's like, well, it's doing something for you. It's not necessarily what you want it to do.
Yeah. So there could be a problem there.
There could be a problem there. What are
Yeah.
some other big gaps that you see in organizations now that you're in doing more of a conceptual, visual evaluation side of the equation? What are some other things that business owners need to think and consider?
That the big thing that I've been seeing is that sales is not leveraging the talent that they have internally. So marketing has a ton of information. They're there to support sales, but the sales team or salesperson is focused on getting a sale. They're very focused on their numbers. Every month they have a number to hit. So if marketing isn't part of that process with sales and understanding how sales works and operates, then sales is going to continue to do their own thing. And they're not going to use the information that marketing creates and puts out there and says, hey, here's this compelling piece of collateral that tells a great story. But if it's not a situation that sales is actually encountering with their prospects, then it's not going to get used. So I see a lot of that too, that sales just isn't leveraging the talent of their marketing team in order to be able to use information and continue to provide value add.
Well, I think a big part of that is clear messaging.
Yeah.
Making sure that every word is clear and concise, and also saying what the company wants to communicate to the customer and the community. One of the areas that I think there's a huge opportunity in organizations that have multiple salespeople and large teams is the idea that if they were to coordinate even their LinkedIn profiles and LinkedIn business page now, it would be a huge impact on a positive impact on the marketing efforts that are going on, because you could actually tell stories and relate and have everybody connect and put that out there and share that information in a consistent way and gain quite a bit of traction in attracting the right customer too.
Yeah. And I actually posted about that. I think it was last week it was one of the video pieces that I posted about employees of companies that are taking the company page post that may or may not have any information associated with a link.
Yeah.
So it could be, hey, here's a new product we released, but they don't say anything about the product release, just the link.
Yeah.
And then an employee will take that and share it and not add anything either. And to me, that's just, there's no value. There needs to be some type of, so my post was about if you're going to share, sharing is not ideal. I think we had conversation on that particular post about commenting, or that's going to get more exposure for that particular post.
Right.
But, if they're going to share, then at least add your thoughts, add some value, add some what's in it for your audience, so that they're going to
expand on it.
True. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there's some opportunities there.
Huge opportunities.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to dig a little deeper into the storytelling as well, and creating marketing pieces, because I think a lot of people miss out. They put a post out there and that's the end of the story. And just like having employees or having others in the organization share it out, expand on it, and do their thoughts. As marketers, we can also develop a series of stories that allow us to take on, a much deeper conversation that leads people into the conclusion that this is something that would work for me, or this is something I could imagine myself doing or having or purchasing. And I think that because the way video has developed and the way that the social media has shortened our attention span, I think it's really going to it's becoming more prevalent that we're going to have to do shorter stories in multiple formats over time in order to achieve that same result, and so you use video. So how has that developed your business, and how has it evolved your business over time since you've been involved in using video?
I've used video this year more than I have any other time. Because I think with a lot of people starting, out on video can be a little intimidating, and you don't know what to expect.
Well, thank you for being a pirate today. So here's to you.
Yeah. So, and thank you again for having me here. I appreciate it. So you just have to get used to, holding your phone or being in front of a camera on your laptop and just having a message. And the biggest thing is just, if you can start out with something that's going to be compelling. So instead of starting out from the beginning, maybe start with, the end or something in the middle that's going to grab people's attention. Maybe it's the problem that they're having,
right.
or something like that. And then just kind of talk through it on video. In video, and John Asperian has mentioned this recently as well, is that when you're on video, people can see you. They can see your facial expression. They can see that you're passionate about something. They can see your body language.
Yeah.
And it's easier for people to relate to you if you're in video. It's the next best thing to being in person.
Yeah. And we all have a personality. And I think, there's a lot of people doing the same thing, which validates the task that we're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has a different connection with individuals. And that's the reason video works so well is that if you can develop a connection in a relationship with these individuals over time, when they need your services or your, tools or your products, and you can stay top of mind, and video's very easy for a lot of people. It's very easy to just pull up the phone, talk about it, and go on about their day. Other people are intimidated by it. And I think the intimidation is, it's like, okay, they're going to judge me. They're going to, say something, or, it's like, it's like,
well, for us too, we grew up in a time where we didn't have phones. So, and especially during, all of our, teenage, 20s, even into our 30s, we didn't have phones. So for us, after so many years of having a certain habit or a certain way of engaging with people, you got to pick up your phone and have it in front of you, and you're talking to a phone.
Yeah.
You're really talking to people, but it's that whole, you have to kind of get past that mindset of, I'm talking to myself now, and I'm going to put it out there. I think that was probably the most uncomfortable, was like, okay, I'm talking to my phone. I feel so strange talking to my phone.
Yeah.
But like anything else, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. Now it's no problem. I mean, I can get on there. And
it's like any other instrument. Life is an instrument. We got to practice that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think people are more open to, if we're, sometimes I'll do videos and I stumble in the middle of it, or even in my podcast, if I'm doing an intro or an outro and I'm like, I stumble, I'm like, I'm being human. It's okay. And people are accepting of that. So I think people just need to jump in, pick up their phones or sit in front of their laptops and just start recording videos, even if they don't post it.
I stumble in real life. It's like if I'm at a networking event or a client meeting and I stumble. It's like there's no retake. I can't edit that out.
I can't edit that out.
That is fantastic. In fact, I'm going to be doing a workshop here shortly, video workshop on how to build a strategy around video, using video, because I think it's so important for us to really understand, because getting on camera is one piece of the strategy. Using it to your advantage and using it to to actually focus on the results, I think is another part of the strategy.
Yeah.
And marketing overall, it's just like you were saying with the business owner, they need somebody with a global view to see outside their box, so they can actually identify the weaknesses and the strengths and everything that goes along into that process.
Yeah.
And I think it's critical for us to help each other out. And that's why I love LinkedIn, is the the ability, John, and, we both know Jeff, and we know other people on this platform. And, 5 years ago, this would be nearly impossible to make these kind of connections.
Exactly. I think it's amazing that we can connect with people around the world. I know you said right now that you're in Texas.
Yeah.
But normally you're in Arizona, John's in the UK, so it's like we can connect with people around the world, and, LinkedIn or just technology in general has given us that possibility. So I think it's amazing. Yeah.
So what's the one thing that has really surprised you about being an entrepreneur and your own business owner now versus being in the corporate world? What's the one thing that you had not imagined or counted on or relied on, I guess?
It's a lot lonelier, even though we have technology and you can connect with people on LinkedIn or wherever. Yeah. When you're an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be your own cheerleader, and you have to be your own, butt kicker, and you have to be your own, you have to be okay with being alone, or, if you go to networking events. So you just have to kind of create what works for you. But for me, it's a balance. Like, I'm okay working alone if I'm, focused. Obviously, that I don't want other people around me at that point. But then having that flexibility of being able to meet with clients face to face, or going to a networking event, or connecting with people on LinkedIn, even doing interviews like this. I mean, this is, something that we wouldn't have been able to do because of technology. Now we can. And, this has been a great addition to my morning because I got to talk with you.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation, because I thrive on the idea that I can share interesting people doing interesting things. And I always find it fascinating about, and it goes to the point of being lonely. It's like, okay, I'm not the only one doing this. You're not the only one doing this. There's other people doing this. And I think if we put that out there and we actually share the fact that this is a universal thing. This is not a unique individual thing. This is a universal thing. Yeah. And all the freelancers and all of the entrepreneurs that are developing their first stage of business is, it's a challenge. It's a real challenge sometimes. And
it is.
And we have to address it.
Brand too. I think that's probably a close second with being an entrepreneur, is just the ramp up time to going from, you were earning a paycheck in a corporate world. Yeah. And making that transition, if you haven't, done the whole, side hustle, to build that income back up. If you're then staying focused on, just being an entrepreneur, it does take time to, kind of get your feet wet, kind of get out there and get your name out there so that people can know, trust you, and in order to do business with you. So the video is a great way to do that, because, you get to connect with people a little bit faster. And I think easier, because they get to see who you are.
Well, and also having a team too, it's because when you're first starting out, for the longest time, I ran a team in corporate, and I had a lot of people around, I could delegate to. And when I became a corporate orphan, as I call it, I it's like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to do this on my own, and I did web development, I did marketing and media, and, creative and content creation. And, I wanted to be kind of an independent, just kind of a digital nomad of sorts. And that's what I was designing for myself. And then recently, I've brought a couple of people on the team, and I've got a couple of virtual people and then I'm delegating now more. And like, I was on a client shoot yesterday, and, video is really strange. And now it's like, okay, I think I'm going to go, I'm going to have to bring on a video editor, because I just don't. I like doing live because I don't like doing editing.
Yeah. So, that's the thing I'm too, doing the video podcast. So if I'm going to do a podcast episode, then I do video if they're open to it. But then there's that video editing that goes along with it. And I'm like, okay, so if it's audio only, it's a lot easier. Well, better.
Yeah. And I started, I was in radio, and I managed radio stations here in Houston for a while, and doing podcasts and developing podcasts and having podcast clients, producing their podcasts. And the same thing with the pirate broadcast, is this technology and the things that I've developed for this this technology I can transfer to other business owners that want to do video for their business. And it's a very simple transition, only if you're not in it, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know, to start from zero is pretty overwhelming. So and there's so much to learn. But definitely. I just love the opportunity to have you here, Vicki, and thank you so much for being here and sharing your words. Is LinkedIn a great place to connect with you?
Yes, that'd be the best place to connect with me. And thank you so much for having me today too. It was an honor and I loved our conversation. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, we'll do it again. We'll do it again. And so if you're out and about and you're looking for assistance, Todd, I'm going to probably connect you if you're watching this. I'm going to connect you with Vicki, an introduction. And also in the world of Cincinnati, Vicki's hanging out there. If you need some assistance with marketing, media, and some of those tools in your toolbox, reach out to Vicki. She can be found on LinkedIn. I just love the opportunity to share these things with you. And Vicki, thank you so much. It's been a fantastic day. Tuesday, I actually fly back to Arizona today, so I'll have a different time zone tomorrow, and it'll be great. But and if you're joining in, thank you so much for joining in. Carol, Sheldine, John, thank you so much for, I'm not sure what time it is for John right now, but
it's 5 hours ahead. So
okay.
2:30 in the afternoon.
So it's not too bad at all. So thank you so much, Vicki. I appreciate you. And you know, kindness is cool, smiles are free, and you enjoy the day.